in between Fuller and Smuts, the most prestigious residences at UCT, and in between that the two residences was a parking lot for students. In that parking lot were your Maseratis, Mustangs, BMWs, etc. And I'd just been on a call with my dad, and he was telling me he might not be able to get my school fees. And here I was in a car park for students, and it got me thinking, these children, when they call their parents, are talking about fuel, replacement of motor vehicle tires, licensing, parking allowances. And here I was coming from a call where I was asking for school fees. And that ignited a quest for understanding and knowledge, how wealth is created to the point where you're not bordering survival, but you're thriving in wealth creation.
We're about to go on one wild ride through the world of financial planning. This is Propulsion, the podcast where we dive deep into the nitty-gritty of taking your business and your practice to the next level. Whether you are an entrepreneur, a franchisee, or a financial planning pro, you are in the right place. We're talking the latest tech, best practices, and expert insights, all while keeping it real and entertaining. So grab a coffee, sit back, and let's get ready to blast off. I'm your host, Francois Du Toit. Right, so my next guest here at the Lean In Vision Board session is Tsungai Masendeke. Tsungai, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Francois.
Awesome. What's the one thing that I noticed since the moment I got here is the energy. It's absolutely it's infectious. Even I was a bit tired driving all the way from Krugersdorp to get here.
Wow.
And now I'm like, let's go.
Yes, of course, let's get going, Francois.
Tsungai, tell us a little bit about what it is that you do. You're also into financial planning, I know. But tell us where you do it, what got you into it, I think most importantly, like what made you do this. And then, we can get this thing started.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I am a certified financial planner. I operate out of a franchise in Woodmid called IWCP Proventus. And I have been in the financial services industry for just over half a decade now. And what inspired me to actually get into the industry was my own story. I went to UCT. And upon me bordering financial exclusion at some point, I remember being on upper campus, as we called it, in between Fuller and Smuts, the most prestigious residences at UCT. And in between that the two residences was a parking lot for students. In that parking lot were your Maseratis, Mustangs, BMWs, etc. And I'd just been on a call with my dad. And he was telling me he might not be able to get my school fees. And here I was in a car park for students. And it got me thinking, these children, when they call their parents, are talking about fuel, replacement of motor vehicle tires, licensing, parking allowances. And here I was coming from a call where I was asking for school fees. And that ignited a quest for understanding and knowledge, how wealth is created to the point where you're not bordering survival, but you're thriving in wealth creation. And so in my journey, I came across this fantastic profession, noble profession of financial planning, and I have made it my quest to help people understand how they too can now create wealth and make sure their children never have to endure financial exclusion.
And was it the thought that went through your mind there in the car park or in the parking area, going like, if they can do it, I can do it? There's just knowledge that's missing, and then obviously the action to go with it. Was that literally what went through your head?
Absolutely. And I think that's why I went on a quest to find answers, to understand, how do people make money? How do they preserve that money? How do they ensure that they plan appropriately for life events like taking children to school, to varsity, as an example? And I think it was through that journey and through the knowledge and information I acquired, that I then realized there is obviously a financial literacy gap. And having seen that as a problem, I said, how better to be part of the change than be in it?
Yeah. And the thing is, once you've gone through it and you applying those things, then you can really help others. I think that's the big thing. You're not coming from a theoretical, let me teach you something that I read in a book kind of thing.
Definitely. And you must know, from the time my first daughter was in diapers, her education fund was already in place.
And you heard you were pregnant. Let's start that fund.
Let's start it right away.
So, and then you also have another sort of passion thing that you started. So passion thing, it's maybe not the right words. But tell me a little bit about that. What is it called and what is it all about?
All right. So I started Moms and Money pretty much after I started in the industry. And it came out of two reports primarily. One was a UN report that indicated that women get paid approximately 20 to 30% less than their male counterparts, that wage inequality. And then a second document I read was the Old Mutual survey that happens annually. And in that statistic, it alluded to the fact that most households in South Africa are single income households, and most of them are actually led by women. So when I put those two statistics together, my heart was broken, because I'm like, listen, these women are trying to look after these households with 20 to 30% less income. How are they even making it? And I decided to focus on empowering moms, empowering women on how they can actually better utilize money, not just to feed the family, but make something out of those resources and create a legacy for themselves. Historically, women also live longer than men. So it just made sense to me to actually be empowering moms, women, on how they can better utilize money, not only to work for them in this generation, but even for those they love past their own best before date.
Yes. And I guess it's an important part of that journey would be to make sure that, because another statistic, which I don't know where it comes from, but I know it's a worldwide statistic, is that people don't talk to their children about money because they simply don't know how. And also they don't have the knowledge. So it starts with themselves, but then also, even if they do have the knowledge, they don't know how to. So is that part of the longer journey sort of plan as well, to make sure that you enable them to continue this and pay it forward?
Absolutely. Because in my head, it doesn't make sense you work your lifetime, blood, sweat, tears, creating this legacy only for it to be squandered by the first generation after. So it's imperative that even as a parent, you're educating your children on how to manage money. So I've got a simple tip I teach my children, the 3 S's, which is number 1, save. If you ask my child, what do you do when you get money? Save, mommy. Okay, so saving, spending, and sharing. So it's a principle. Whether I'm there or I'm not there, I know they can always carry a lifelong principle into their decision-making process. So for little kids, simple basic principles, put into bite sizes that they can assimilate and understand at their own age is fundamental in creating that generational wealth.
That's awesome. Let's talk a bit. Thanks for sharing that. So let's talk a little bit about the vision board session here at Lean In. So you're part of the Lean In group. And how's today been for you? I don't know, looking at you, I think I'm going to ask you a question which I don't have to ask, but have you done this before?
Quite interestingly, in 2020 when COVID hit, one of the sessions I had in 2021 actually were webinars on goal setting and vision boards. And why is because I believe in goal-based investing, okay? If someone doesn't have something they're aiming towards, it's very easy for them to get sidetracked and use that money for something else. So I've been a very firm believer of set out your goals, clearly articulate them, understand what it is you're going for. Because it's like taking a journey. If you get into your car today, Francois, and you don't know exactly where you're going, how will you ever measure or monitor how far you are towards your destination? But the moment you actually put in a goal, a vision, you can start tracking, monitoring, and managing your performance towards that particular destination. So I've always been a firm believer of vision boards, and the practices that make those visions a reality. Because I say you can plan and plan all you want until your eyes go blue, but if you're not going to tally it with an appropriate action plan, then it's a waste of time. It's as good as journaling or putting stuff into a notebook that gets hidden 5 kilometers down under the sea, and no one ever gets to appreciate its manifestation. So it's so important that you do create a very clear vision of where you want to go, but you also then have a clear implementation and action plan to get things done.
What's something that you put on the vision board you want to share?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Which one do I even choose?
Just one.
So the one that I probably can talk about, which is obviously an extension of my passion, is how I'm a wealth creator, or I help people create wealth. I always say I give wings to your dreams. I help you soar financially. I help make your biggest dreams a reality through the proper planning, proper execution, proper accountability, so that your dreams can actually become a reality. So, of course, my vision board is full of those things where I'm helping people. I've got dollar notes there on my vision board. I've got cars on my vision board, because those are the things people want. They want houses, they want cars. So my vision board is primarily about how I help give life to other people's dreams and visions.
That's amazing. So, last question. What's one thing about leaning that stands? I'm asking everybody the same question here. So, what is one thing about leaning that stands out for you? What is it that makes it a great place for you to be a part of?
Ubuntu. So some people call it the sisterhood. But yeah, I think it's that feeling of belonging. I feel financial services is a highly untransformed industry, and to find like-minded individuals in one place with a common vision and agenda is special. So to have females, for that matter of fact, who are thriving within financial services is a breath of fresh air, because we come here, we collaborate, we exchange ideas, we help encourage each other so that we can continue to move as a formidable force in helping to transform the industry. And I always say to myself, be the change you want to be the change that you want to see, but participate. And being part of Lean In helps me to participate in ensuring that females actually keep on progressing and contributing positively in the financial services industry.
Tsungai, it was amazing speaking to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy the rest of the afternoon, and I'll see you around somewhere soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, folks, that's a wrap for this episode of Propulsion. I hope you got as much out of this as I did. Remember to tune in every Friday at 8 a.m. South African time for our live show called Propulsion Live. You can find it at www.propulsion.co.za/live. And trust me, you don't want to miss it. If you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, hit that subscribe button or the follow button and share it with your friends, colleagues, and anyone else who you think would get something out of it. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one.